So the AFC just got a little more difficult with the Cincinnati Bengals seemingly making an all in type of move, trading for Pro Bowl tackle Dexter Lawrence from the New York Giants. Now, they paid a high price for Dexter Lawrence, giving up their number 10 overall pick. I do not know what they got back in return, but I know that the type of move that this is increases their win ability. And so when you look around the AFC North and you look at the teams who may have a tougher hill to climb, you first have to take a look at the Baltimore Ravens, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Cleveland Browns, all in division rivals. All right. Then when you look at last year's playoff teams, when the Bengals get better defensively, they actually get better offensively because the defense creates an opportunity for the offense to be on the field more. And when you got that triple threat of Burrow, Chase, and Higgins, that's a lot to handle. And the Cincinnati Bengals have been building their offensive line with them 2 6'8" tackles, bookends, Amarius Mims and Orlando Brown. They've been adding depth and talent in the interior. So this offense was already well stocked. This defense just got better, and they also added Cook, safety from Kansas City, who is a higher end talent than what they had last year. And they still have the remaining part of the draft to add depth. I think this move for the Cincinnati Bengals increases Shamar Stewart's ability to develop as a pass rusher, take some pressure off, as Dexter Lawrence is a high end talent. And so when you look at the AFC right now, you have to elevate the Bengals into that upper echelon. Now, how high can Lawrence take them? Not sure right now because we understand that there are some more moves to be made, some more trades. There are going to be some post draft signings, things of that nature. But this absolutely increases the potential for the Bengals to compete and compete at the top of the AFC. When we take a step back and zoom out and look at the AFC North as a whole, the Bengals are a team, of course, who did not make the playoffs, and they were right there with the Ravens and the Steelers competing to the end. They just fell apart, right? And we understand that the Bengals have gotten off to a slow start, but I think building this defense the way that they have actually allows them to get off to a better start in the 2026 season. This is not me elevating the Bengals over the Ravens or the Steelers, Steelers being last year's division winner, but this is me acknowledging that this is a win now type of move. You don't give up a top 10 pick if you don't think the player you're going after is going to put you in a win now position. Much similar to the Baltimore Ravens trading their two first round picks, number 14 this year and the 2027 first round pick for Max Crosby, a move that, didn't go through. That was a win now move. And so, what are the moves the Ravens, Steelers, and Browns need to make to compensate, right? To offset. Well, I think if we start with the Cleveland Browns, I don't think there's a move that the Browns are going to make to offset this addition of talent, right? Their offense is going to be whatever it is, and their defense is going to be steady, you know, already, right? Because they were already good. When you think about the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think that there's not a move that they can make necessarily other than securing whoever their quarterback is. That seems to be Aaron Rodgers because I don't know if there's a move to be made to bring in somebody who's going to be as competent as Aaron Rodgers. And it doesn't cost him anything in draft capital to bring him in. And there's no trade that has to be made to bring an Aaron Rodgers in. So it seems like he's probably the likely candidate, but we understand he always plays those games in the off season, whether he's going to retire, whether he's going to return, that kind of thing. I think he just likes the attention. Nevertheless, when we, just take a step back and consider the Steelers, they've already made their move, right? By adding a Michael Pittman. Now, what you're going to see them do in the draft, which is what I believe is going to happen, I think you're going to see them add a slot receiver. I could see them looking at a Malachi Lemon, to kind of put him in that slot amongst those towering wide receivers on the outside. And then with the addition of an Aaron Rodgers, I think that that will mitigate some of what the Bengals have done with a Dexter Lawrence because their offensive line is already set as well. I think when you look at the Baltimore Ravens, from a more immediate context, I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to have to figure out the center position and that right guard position. I don't think there is a trade coming, right, at either position, right? I don't think that there is a free agent signing necessarily that's going to offset a Dexter Lawrence addition. So what the Baltimore Ravens are going to have to do is become more potent offensively, which is going to be something that they could address in the draft, but definitely something they're going to have to give some attention to post draft, right? And so when we really think about the Baltimore Ravens as a Ravens fan, right, I have to acknowledge that the move is a good move. The move does elevate the Bengals. And so when we are in a win now scenario, especially with the level of contracts that we carry, especially with the contract situation surrounding quarterback Lamar Jackson and what happens after this season as it pertains to his salary cap hit next season, this is a win now season, but our offensive line has not been fully addressed. And so a player of the caliber of a Dexter Lawrence absolutely impacts that. Now, does that mean we just go right out, hold number 14, and pick the best offensive lineman available? We could for sure. We could for sure. But I think that it causes us to take a step back and ask, okay, do we have enough talent along that offensive line? Do we have enough depth along that offensive line? And do we have the ability to add explosive talent, again, whether in the draft or post draft, because there is some talent still available. And so I think that's what we see the Ravens do is pay more attention to that offensive line, get some depth behind John Simpson, figure out what they're going to really do at center, add some depth behind Emory Jones. See, I'm not concerned about Andrew Voorhees. I've seen all I've needed to see from him. I'm, I'm not concerned about him at all. But I think we also need to add some depth and talent behind the tackle positions as well. And so I think that a move like this, when they add this kind of talent, creates a new level of urgency to building a quality offensive line. I know one of the commenters from a video ago said, I think that it's overblown, right? The offensive line that we have, that the new offensive line coach will fix a lot of woes. That's fine. He can be a talented coach and he can do some things systematically, technique, all those kind of things is great. But you still have to have talent and you have to have depth. Now, when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens defensively, I think we did add adequate talent already that could cause us to compete more with that Bengals offense, more with that Pittsburgh Steelers offense. But I still think this move makes the Cincinnati Bengals a legitimate threat. Let's jump outside of the AFC North and look at what a move like this does holistically. When you look at the New England Patriots, they have some controversy. I think this controversy is going to cause them to lose a little bit of focus, and I think they take a step back. Not a huge step, but I do think they take a step back in 2026. And so I think it's going to take a year to just kind of rebuild, recover, and restore some of that distraction. And they need a lot of help at the wide receiver position. They need some help along the offensive line. And so I think this move by the Bengals makes them more competitive with the New England Patriots. When you look at the Denver Broncos, same type of scenario. This move makes them more competitive with the Broncos. When you look at the other teams that made the playoffs, I think it brings them at a level of a Jacksonville Jaguars. I think it brings them at the level of a Los Angeles Chargers. I think it brings them Yeah, I could say that it brings them to a level of a Houston Texans, although their defense is elite. But adding a guy like this, especially when Houston has offensive line questions, brings them to that same level. So I absolutely think the Bengals have just leaped, barring any type of injury, they've just leaped into the top of the AFC. And so I think it's a I think it's a good move. If the Bengals believe that they're in win now mode, I have to trust them with that because I think with their personnel that's currently constructed, adding a guy like this absolutely makes them a contender. And we saw the Bengals with less talent defensively already make a Super Bowl appearance several years ago. And so I think that this elevates them to that type of Super Bowl contention. You guys let me know what you think the move does for the AFC North, for the AFC, and for the league holistically as the Bengals make a trade for Dexter Lawrence. And until next video, which we talk about the draft, I'm out.